Remember when Zach Hyman was a Toronto Maple Leaf? Or better yet, a Florida Panther? Yeah, me neither. This guy will be remembered as an Edmonton Oiler and just became the most recent one to score a Hattie. And you already know every single one was assisted by the hockey god Mick Jesus, as Hyman would be the one to open the scoring. Connor goes wheeling down the wing, gets it into the soup in the middle, and Hyman cleans it up. Classic Hyman goal, and McDavid skating that spinorama. 1-0 Edmonton. Then a couple minutes later, Hyman grabs an assist as he sets up Adam Henrique for his first playoff goal in 12 years. Rangers fans, save yourself the heartache. Don't look up who he was playing for. Pretty wild though, his first goal since he was 22. He's 34 now, but after that magical cup run with, yes, the Devils, he's back at it. I mean, he was on some dusty-ass Jersey teams, then was on the Ducks for the past 7 years, where they've done nothing. He did play, I think, 4 games in the playoffs, no goals. Now picked up at the deadline by Edmonton. You'll love to see it. But back to Hyman and Z. They were back to ripping it in the second to put the Oil Dogs up 3-0. McDavid has a nice little steal off Doughty, then has all the time to think about what he does next. He decides on spinning backhand to Zach, and it's too easy for him. I'm not a hockey genius, but I don't think giving McDavid time to think behind your net is the way you want to win hockey games. But it's 3-0. Hyman would then grab the Hattie in the third, and if you thought the first two were all McDavid, this one was hilarious. Oilers on the power play, Hyman sitting behind the defense, hugging the post like the goalie is supposed to. McDavid hits him with the perfect pass, going past everyone, off Hyman's stick, off his skate, and in. McDavid basically passing the puck into the net. There's your hat trick. I could have scored that one. 6-2 Edmonton. And of course, Edmonton's going to Edmonton. We have a hard hat sighting on the ice with the other tossed hats. Someone's out there from the East Coast making that oil money. And with Hyman's first playoff hat trick, he's the 18th Oiler to ever do so, which actually feels like a lot, but Gretzky. Kings tried to claw back, making it 6-4 late, but Fogle gets the empty netter, and the Oil Pigs take game one pretty confidently. McDavid, 5 assists. Bouchard with 4 points, and obviously Hyman's 3-1 helped them cruise to the finish line. And I hope the Kings have a bit more to say in game 2. This one's going to be a quick series. The Oilers dominated, especially the first couple of periods. This is going to sound crazy, but it feels like people have been hitting themselves out of games. Play more hockey. The Kings were credited for 70 hits this game, which is nuts for one team. There were 69 total in the Canes-Islanders game 2. But in today's NHL, I don't know, maybe you're going too far in one direction. Maybe things will change as the series goes on and the wear and tear starts to slow the Islanders down, but in my opinion, too much for game 1. What do you think? Is this going to be a cakewalk for the Oilers? Do you think the Kings have a bit more mustard for their dog? Let us know down below.
So today we're going to see how many cards we can buy.
As a New York Rangers fan, Alexander Ovechkin doesn't care. Watching him, even as a New York Rangers fan, in this series has been infuriating. Last game, held to no shots. This time, he technically got 1 in the first period. I missed it. Whatever. His overall effort tonight was just disgraceful. There was one big play, which we'll talk about in a second, but watch, for example, how he is on the last shifts of the game. When the team is down 1, I really noticed in the first, he was just loading around. If he got the puck anywhere other than like the circle, he'd throw it against the boards. And of course, on the power play, he fumbles the puck. The Rangers take it, a beautiful passing play. Ovi doesn't really back check. Shocker. He's a liability. Like he really is. Will he be all series? I don't know. He very well could end up scoring like 4 or 5 goals in the next few games. But I'll say this, you would never see Sidney Crosby play a single shift like Ovechkin played the entire game tonight. And that's one of the reasons why Crosby will go down as the better player when their careers are over. Anyway, not going to recap this one goal by goal. I thought, honestly, the Rangers were super inconsistent. They started the game off lazy. They got a good penalty kill. They'd go up a goal or two. They'd be lazy again. They'd turn it back on after Washington scored to restore the lead. That was pretty much the whole game. I was never really concerned, but if they play like that when Washington is going or against better teams, it's going to be a short playoff run. The story of this one, however, probably the officiating. There was one controversial hit by Artemi Panarin. Shocker. I thought it was clean. Also, if you're injured by a hit from the Breadman, do self-reflection. But the refs actually took the time to review it, removed the call. Oshie, who was the one hit, and he left the game for a bit. Him and Panarin were jawing at each other all game. Oshie was getting shots in. We haven't seen a real fight yet in this series, but I think we'll see one early on in Game 3. Anyway, the Rangers are certainly in the driver's seat right now. But hey, all Washington needs to do is win their home games, and we're in a brand new series. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours on Panarin's hit, Ovi's play, the game overall, and whatever else down below.
Core Power helps you rise to a whole new level of recovery with 42 grams of protein.
One of
A couple videos ago, we talked about why every playoff team will win the Stanley Cup, and when we got to Vancouver, this is what I said. This is a really good team that's well coached. I think they've got a real shot as long as they don't get caught sleeping and underestimate a team like Nashville, for example, then get outworked and beaten by them because they weren't as hungry as them. Now, obviously, learning the day of that your star goaltender could miss the entire first round after he was great in Game 1 is a huge blow and definitely impacted the team. But Nashville was just hungrier yesterday, man. They just wanted that game so bad. The Canucks did push, though, and I will say that if that shot pass ends up going in the net instead of off the post, I think the momentum completely shifts and the game ends up getting tied. Wasn't meant to be, though, and Nashville was just more determined than Vancouver at both ends of the ice yesterday. A lot of people are looking directly at this play, though, where Pettersson misses the wide open net, puts it on the side, falls to his knees, and then looks up to the heavens. He knows he should have had that one. Elias Pettersson puts this thing in like 99 times out of 100. It's no secret he hasn't had a great start to the playoffs this year, and I think we got to talk about this because if you watch this channel, you know I think very highly of this player, and Rick Tocchet postgame answered it beautifully, I think. Yes, he wants to see more from Pettersson. He wants to see him be more decisive and shoot the puck more, but he also mentioned that this adversity for him in this situation, high pressure playoff spot, is really good for him, and I totally agree. I've seen people already writing this kid off like, oh, he signed the big money contract right before the playoffs so he could disappear, now he doesn't care anymore, or because he's gone pointless in 2 playoff games. And look, I'm defending the guy, but we got to be honest about this too. He's been bad in those 2 playoff games, but based on that alone, some people are already ready to say he's not built for the playoffs. I know in the bubble it was different. When you're not playing in a pressure cooker environment in front of fans, it's not the same at all, I get that, but it was still playoff hockey, and Pettersson was great in that playoff run in 2020. He showed up almost more than anybody else during that playoff run. I would argue he was one of, if not the best Canuck during that run, other than like the goalies. I really don't think we're talking about a guy who's a regular season merchant here. He's got it in him. It's just that his confidence right now is not the highest, and he's learning, he's adjusting. And there's also the physicality aspect of his game. I mean, over the course of his career in Vancouver, he's been willing to dish it out, and I think that'll serve him well long term in a playoff setting. Again, it's okay to say that he hasn't been good enough in these first 2 games and they need more from him. That's totally true, but it's far too early to call this contract a miss and to criticize him as a playoff player in general just based on these last 2 games and even this past season. Canucks fans know their stuff. I feel like if they're watching the games, they know that. And honestly, most hockey fans anyways, I feel like they know that, but I also feel like there's people who look at McDavid putting up 5 assists in Game 1 or Matthews scoring the game-winning goal in a dramatic Game 2 against Boston, or even like Mark Scheifele having 4 points in his first 2 games in Winnipeg. And because Pettersson hasn't done that and they look at the empty net clip and it's like, oh, this guy's not a playoff player. He's a Casper in the playoffs. It's like, give it a minute. I mean, maybe that is true. I don't know. Me personally, I don't think so. I've seen enough from him to know that he has it in him to be a good playoff player. But I want to see how this unfolds here because I think it's going to be really interesting to follow him as a player throughout this series. Honestly, as we see him develop and move through the series, I might even make a part 2 to this video if that's something you guys might want to see. The Canucks are going to need him though, so we'll see how this goes. They can't get out-hungered by the Preds again. Not for 3 of the next 5 anyway, so we'll see what happens there. But I know you guys want more Canucks content. I've been reading the comments and seeing that. I'll be making it. Thank you guys so much for commenting and liking, by the way. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next one. You're awesome.